My name is Bud Hall. I'm the co-chair of the UNESCO Chair in Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility in Higher Education. I'm associated with the Community Development Program, the University of Victoria in Western Canada.
I'm Rajesh Tandon. I work in India in an organization called Participatory Research in Asia, PRIA, and I'm the second leg of the co-chair based in Delhi. We have been working on promotion of participatory research as a methodology for listening to the voices of people on the base and drawing from those voices a new way of understanding reality. In doing so over the years, we have been engaging with, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so successfully, with universities and higher education institutions which train a young generation in research methodology and training them for becoming academics and researchers. Over the years, we discovered that there is a disconnect between what they are being trained for inside the university and what the world outside expects them to do. Even to be good researchers, they need to have the skills and capacities to learn from communities and people in those communities. So we have been trying to work with global networks like Global University Network for Innovation, GUNI, which is based in Barcelona, in promoting these ideas for new generation of higher education institutions to tap into. And we then got invited by UNESCO Higher Education Division to consider setting up a chair. And our interest was on working together in the theme of promoting community-based participatory research. And we found resonance in UNESCO with that theme. And so in 2012, UNESCO agreed to support this co-chair arrangement. Bud, based in an academic institution in a university in Western Canada in Victoria, and I am based in a civil society organization in India, PRIA. And since 2012, we have been utilizing this arrangement to find a way to mainstream learning of community-based research and university community research partnerships around the world.
The mandate of the UNESCO chair, all of the UNESCO chairs, the one common mandate is they are designed as an instrument to build research capacity in the global south. But there are hundreds of these chairs, and nearly all of them are subject oriented. So you could have a chair in mathematics or applied physics, or chemical limnology or whatever. They would have their job would be to try and strengthen the knowledge or research base in that field. Ours cuts across the institutions of higher education and works in that domain of what we call social responsibility, which is a priority for UNESCO. So our chair is unique in that sense, in that it cuts across the whole approach to curriculum and teaching and learning and understanding of knowledge. So what we have been doing, we're coming into our fourth year as a chair. What we've been doing is taking advantage of the platform and the global networking connections that we have to do a number of things. One is to take stock of the various arrangements that civil society organizations and universities have for carrying out what people call the co-construction of knowledge. That is, working together civil society and higher education institutions working together, on new knowledge, drawing from the strength of each part of the kind of the intellectual and the knowledge making world to be applied to some of the very difficult situations that we face in our communities, issues such as homelessness, issues such as violence against women, issues such as the environmental degradation and so forth. And so we've been able to work and get research partnerships with a number of research funding bodies to do a study on global structures. We've just published a couple of books on that, and our current focus is on getting a sense of where can the next generation of participatory researchers, where can they learn how to do this kind of work. And so we're in halfway through that project of trying to identify what's working, where can people learn that, because we have a concern that unless we are unless we do something deliberative, around increasing training opportunities for young people, both in universities and in civil society, to actually have a chance to learn this stuff, this generation will basically miss out and be stuck the way ours was, 30, 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, really, in having to try to invent this way of working from, without having any help at all. Yeah, people may be wondering, so what does it actually look like? If a university is socially responsible or is engaged in, engaged scholarship or community-based research, what difference does it make? I can speak from, my experience in Victoria, and Rajesh, has got a very broad, some things he can add from the Indian experience. From our when we first went to the community and we told them that we were wanting to become, better partners, research partners, the main response from the community was skepticism. They couldn't believe it, because their experience with the university has been that it's a place that isn't. It's interested in. It might be interested in what's going on in New York. It might be interested in what's going on in Toronto. It might be interested in what's going on in Africa, but it probably isn't interested at all in anything that's going on in the town, in the community where it's actually located. So there's been a tremendous change over the last 10 years as we've engaged in we know at the university much more about the needs that have been identified by organizations like the United Way of Canada, which is an umbrella group of community groups, the Victoria Foundation, Community Foundation, the Coalition to End Homelessness, all the different, the food security action groups and so forth. We know them, they know us, and we've been able to work together, to begin working together, providing kind of action evidence, based to help tackle some of the issues that are facing us in Victoria.
Well, in the common parlance these days, because everybody's talking about social responsibility of higher education, social responsibility has become a buzzword. You have corporate social responsibility, CSR. Then in some parts of Asia, they're talking about university social responsibility, or USR. And generally it means that students of the university and with a few professors go out and help the poor neighborhoods, clean them up, or plant some trees on a weekend, or it's sort of provide some sort of help service. And it is generally carried out in a one-way extension mode, as if those in the university have all the knowledge and expertise and those in the community are ignorant. So what we have been trying to argue, recommend and demonstrate is that social responsibility has to be integrated in the core business of a higher education institution. And its core business is teaching and research. And therefore, how do you design your curriculum? How do you design your pedagogy of teaching that you incorporate the knowledge and experience and perspectives of the communities? And how do you undertake research in the mode of co-construction of knowledge so that analysis of realities is also carried out by leaders in the communities and civil society organizations active in those communities. So in doing this, we have found that several things happen. One is that the knowledge and experience of the communities is valued and respected. There is an acknowledgement, a sense of humility inside the university that they are not the sole producers and keepers of knowledge. And there is also a better, more experiential and holistic analysis of reality because they engage with communities' perspectives and experiences in the way they name the problem and find solutions. So more authentic knowledge is produced in the process. Students benefit by learning about their concepts, the theories, as they play out or do not play out in reality, and therefore their theoretical understanding is enhanced. They build, in fact, capacities to theorize more actively as opposed to mug up other people's theories. So there are many examples in relation to water harvesting, in relation to teaching of hydrology, in relation to understanding the dynamic of violence against girls and women, in which partnerships between communities, community leaders, civil society groups, and local colleges and universities have been extremely beneficial. Law students, when they work with the community on questions of violence, then they realize how law enforcing agencies, the police and the judicial system interprets those incidents, and what are the limitations of legal institutions, both in terms of their perspective as well as their procedures. And this, in a way, makes them better lawyers. It prepares them to undertake their profession better than they would have ever known by just reading the books in the classroom.
Our chair is deliberately structured, in this shared modality, and it's deliberately, and the sharing is very, very deliberate between an Indian based civil society research organization and a northern university. In my case, in our case, the University of Victoria. The benefits that we've experienced are, well, I'll say one thing is absolutely immediate. We never, because we both come from different institutional locations, we never think of the community-based research and social responsibility without also taking into account what is the civil society perspective. And if this chair were, if let's say I was the holder of the chair, I might from time to time, because I've come out of that kind of a background, I believe in it, but the momentum, the energy, higher education institutions have so much money, that's all they do is organize these kinds of things. I could be swept along. So that's certainly something. I think that the obviously the location, the global South. I mean, you can't be, Victoria is not the global South, and the range of issues that come up from the networks that PRIA is involved with are they're similar in terms of issues of justice, issues of whose voice counts, who's involved in planning, kind of lack of infrastructure in this field or other, and certainly in issues like violence against women, which we find very very strongly in Canada as well as in India. But I think that the way of our way of working, and this is what we hoped for when we came up with the idea of a joint chair. It really is it changes the way that we conceive of every single thing that we do, whether we're working with Guni on the World Report on Higher Education or whatever it is. Both of us, I'm changed by it, and I suspect and I suspect that Rajesh is also changed by the fact that we're the kind of a partnership that we are.
One of the very interesting things we have learned over the last few years is that in the non-Anglo-Saxon tradition, there have existed and continue to be various ways in which accountability of universities to larger society was ensured. We came across some fascinating studies and examples of this in places like Indonesia, in some local language, indigenous higher education institutions in sub-Saharan Africa. And these we would not have learned about if we were not approaching it from the point of view of looking at what's going on the ground in diverse contexts. So there is, first of all, an acknowledgement that some form of engagement, some form of serious, mutually respectful engagement has been going on. It has been going on in respect of individual scholars or small colleges, but not necessarily gained visibility at the national or regional levels. So our studies, our policy analysis has begun to show that visibility. Second is that by bringing a global perspective and global approach, we have encouraged horizontal learning across countries and across institutions. So, the Indian new policy of funding Center for Social Responsibility in universities is a direct outcome of learning from similar experience from Canada, from South Africa, from Indonesia, UK, those kinds of. The third thing that I think we are struck by and we continue to be impressed with is that students around the world are hungry for this. And without facilitative institutional mechanisms in the universities, it does not acquire a momentum which is university-wide. It is then left to individual faculty choices, but incentive structures, resources, and facilitative mechanisms are critical for a broad-based support to faculty and research community in universities. Students across the world are hungry, and you can see that in demonstrations and protests that have gone on in Chile, in South Africa, in India, in Australia, in Philippines. And that is because they are questioning the relevance of the curriculum and the pedagogy in universities. UNESCO chair, if you remember, in the most part of this 21st century, there has been a movement towards what has come to be known as knowledge economy. Many countries have set up knowledge commissions, many national governments have made policies and investments in promoting knowledge economy. And the underlying premise of knowledge economy is that there is a singularity of knowledge, and that knowledge can be used to make money. Knowledge capital can be enhanced so it supports notions of intellectual property right, and therefore privileges those who are knowledge holders over those whose knowledge is not recognized. It is this wave and this perspective which has been at the heart of various contestations going on around patenting local knowledge in areas of food and seeds and healthcare, water system design, etc. So when we confronted that reality, we began to question it from our perspective of community-based participatory research, which essentially implied that plurality of knowledge systems and ways of understanding, articulating, producing, storing knowledge have existed and continue to exist. And that plurality, therefore, can only be deeply appreciated and encouraged to build a synthesis on if community-based research is practiced. So for us, practicing community-based participatory research is an integral part of understanding and respecting plurality of knowledge systems and plural ways of producing, storing, and using knowledge. With that background, therefore, we began to question the monopolistic control over knowledge and the patenting of knowledge in the interest of serving the economy of the few. And that's how the framework of knowledge democracy came in our articulation. Some other philosophers have talked about cognitive justice, and we share that point of view, but we arrive at knowledge democracy from our standpoint on community-based participatory research. As we were finishing up this study and these books, we have also begun to look at the demand and supply for training of community-based researchers, particularly in Global South. And we have found that the demand is very high, as I was saying, among students as well as some academic faculty. They want to learn about how to do this work in an authentic and professional manner. But the supply of training opportunities for learning how to do community-based research in practice are few and far between in Global South. Those who are learning this in doing it in the field, in civil society, lack opportunities for theorizing and learning about theoretical frameworks or historical traditions. And those who are learning about this in classrooms lack opportunities for practice and learning by doing. So we are now moving towards building a global consortium platform which will support training of next generation of participatory community-based researchers around the world. So we hope that those of you who are interested will engage with us in this direction.
We certainly we think that if we can establish, some international consortium or another organizational model that will boost capacity, learning capacity, in the Global South and what we call the excluded North, if we can pull that off, create the partnerships, and get that on a sustainable basis, so that it's self-funding, that there's some way for it to continue beyond our initial involvement in it. That's a big that's a big aspiration that we have. We also have just begun to talk about, about the perhaps we in all likelihood we will be asked to continue on for another 4 years. Well, that's, speaking personally, that's that's great. But that'd be about it in terms of my formal my ability to keep up with all this stuff. So we've been talking about the idea of over the next 4 years establishing an endowment of some kind to continue the chair. It may or may not be called a UNESCO chair, but a chair that would continue the relationship between the University of Victoria and PRIA. So that there might be other people on either end that are playing the roles that Rajesh and I play now. But we feel that from both institutions, it's certainly been an enormously instructive relationship, and across many parts of our university. This one organization in India has had so much influence in our university. It's just really amazing to think about. So we'd like to keep that up. So we would love to find some people who believe in that vision and would like to support that work, to make sure that work can continue on beyond the limitations of Rajesh and my time.
Well, firstly, a whole new generation of young people are entering higher education in many parts of Asia, Africa, whose parents never went to college. So they are coming with hope of learning. And when they confront the reality of curriculum and pedagogy in very conservative, at times traditional ways, they get frustrated. But their frustration is more because it comes in the way of their making a contribution to those serious problems that humanity faces at this juncture. So I think for me the most hopeful sign has been the energy and the excitement of the young people who are entering universities and colleges from such communities and families which 20 years ago did not see that as possible. And therefore they are bringing with them a new way of looking at reality. And I think those problems of poverty and degradation and conflict can only be addressed if we have a perspective that brings all the different community leaders and other stakeholders to understand the problem holistically, which means to listen to those points of view which have been excluded so far.